Hello and welcome to the Cat Collective. I'm Nina, I'm the channel for this channel, and let's start. The Magician. Ooh. The Magician, immediately there was a message, like almost like half an hour talking about just the Magician card. This one. Ah, that's interesting. Ooh, look at that. Oh. Cat cards, aren't they amazing? Okay, let's keep this in mind. We have it, right? Oh, the Magician flew on the ground. What does this mean? Very sensitive. I'm hearing the tapping of the cards, right? So I feel that the Magician card. Why did the Magician just fly on the ground? So what I meant to say about the Magician card in the beginning was, how are you doing this, right? How? There's something. So you are the magician, of course, and it's always magic, right? It's how do you, it's like, how do you hold the wand up without touching it somehow, right? It's that's about the magician. You don't know how someone's doing it, or you are doing something that someone is thinking of. How are you doing this? Right? How are you? Very again thought-oriented thinking. So the magician is free flowing. It's somehow it wants to look at the King of Swords versus the magician, because the King of Swords, if you want to see it that way, is someone who is sitting on a brick, right, or on concrete, not very fast moving, right, and it's very hard, and the sword has to be moved up physically, right? Whereas the wand and the magician is very natural, free flowing, and it just comes to the magician. It's very, it's not very, it's subconscious, right? It's not steering anything. It's very free flowing. It's like when you want to move your body parts, you don't know where the exact command is coming from. You can just move your body, right? You know that you can influence it. You can do it like this and this and this, but you don't know where the moving part is coming from. You don't. It's not that you're saying, hand, move now. Like I'm doing, the hand doesn't move when I say that, but somehow it just works. What you're doing is somehow it just works. Whereas the King of Swords tries to analyze the magician, because the King of Swords thinks that the magician influences this, or the magician is consciously doing something. Whereas, with concrete is something that we build ourselves to build something, right? It's what we are doing physically. We steer it, we've molded, we form it, we put it into a form, and and I think the King of Swords wants to do what the magician does, but the King of Swords tries to analyze the magician from a point of head, right? It's very burdensome with this somehow, because you will never be a magician if you don't let it free flow without overthinking it, or without, if you try to do it from a point of thoughts, the way just this card looks like, it won't work, right? It's all very gray and controlling, and the magician knows that control needs to be released. And with all the nature cards, it's a very natural development. And there's the cup also on the magician card, which I think is interesting, because the cup is usually just something for the cup cards, right? And we don't have the cup here. So that's one part. And then there comes the Knight of Swords again. I think maybe the King of Swords backwards development is a bit like a Fool, because the Fool card is on there. So I think so there are two, energies on the table. I feel like the message for the King of Swords is to also look at this owl that is also physically, again, holding the sword. But look at the way an owl functions. It's a very natural thing for an owl to fly, and you try to steer it in a direction. It's literally, right, trying to control the owl. You can. That's the point of surrender that you need to reach. Either it's you or it's the person that's analyzing your magic. Flip it however it fits. But it feels to me that the owl, you need to release the wish of wanting to control the owl, because this is not what you are supposed to do. Yes, it's good in a way. It can be good to team up somehow, but this is not what you are meant to do. You are in this case. Well, you are a cat, right? In this whole thing, you are supposed to be the Fool. And this is putting more burden on you than you really need to carry. And it's also, again, swords are fighting, right? They are fighting either to reach a goal or to reach something. They are fighting. And I feel that you don't want to fight. You need to surrender to something. And this is more or less the burden that you're carrying, that you need to let go of to reach your destination. And because this is too much. If you see it, if you try to steer it, if you try to control it, this is too much energy that you are putting into something. You need to let it free flow, like a Fool. The Fool doesn't really know. It's like a natural genius. The Fool just does something without really thinking about it, but it leads the Fool somewhere, right? And it's almost as if the Fool doesn't really know what the Fool is doing. It's just following the butterfly, and there's the butterfly again. So if you want to be a magician, you need to follow the Fool, and the Fool just follows out of curiosity and just follows the light, and somehow the Fool follows the light, and sparkly thing somehow, right? The butterfly, the transformation. It's the zero. It's the wisdom of the Fool, the just childlike. If you try to steer something or control something, that's very grown up, right? Because you want to put it into a specific direction and all that, but in a way, you won't achieve what the magician does if you are trying to steer it in this controlling way. Because you are literally not doing, you are not embracing yourself if you are changing this, if you try to steer it with the owl, if you try to fly an owl, you just let it go, and you just are a fool and do what your curiosity leads you to. And this is a very trusting thing, and maybe you are not that trusting. It's like also trying to, with the Lovers card, if you try to control a situation with a specific outcome, it's almost being reminded of trying to be different so you are being loved. It's a good example, trying to, let's say your crush has mentioned that they like people with blonde hair, but you are naturally not blonde. So therefore you dye your hair so you can fit their specific, what they like. But is it you? No, it's not. It's just an example of something. And to reach what the magician does somehow, you need to be yourself. And therefore, manipulation needs to be removed. You cannot reach the place of the magician if you are manipulating anything. And somehow everything aligns. That's the magic trick, because you are not manipulating. If you give it up, try to control an outcome, you will get more than you thought of. More in a good way, a better outcome than you could ever imagine. But you also have to surrender to the journey of not trying to steer it. Right? It's this, you don't dye your hair, for example, right? It's this tiny example. I think this is a little bit more, the message is a little bit bigger than just dyeing the hair. It's just a day-to-day example of you don't need to do that. And if you don't do that, if you embrace, let's say even clothing, if you embrace the comfort clothing that you have or something that you like to wear, instead of something you think you need to wear to look good or something, if you just embrace what is the most attractive to you, it's like comfort over looks, or both maybe, there are beautiful clothings that are also very comfortable, but there are also beautiful clothings which are very, very uncomfortable. So, embrace just the nice things and the things that feel the best to you, and suddenly everything aligns. Whereas when you are embracing or trying to steer something with something negative in mind somehow, or not negative, or just an outcome, or the concrete with the concrete in mind, then you will end up like concrete. But if you are steering it without like not steering it but just following, something happens. The Lovers happens then, whatever this means to you. It can mean the Lovers, really. If you go just somewhere spontaneously and suddenly you meet someone, right? That's the journey of the Fool. But also if you remove yourself from a situation that you think doesn't feel right, if something doesn't feel right and you remove yourself, or just speaking some boundaries into place, and suddenly everything just works out, even though you thought it wouldn't somehow, So all those situations, they lead you to the Lovers. And the Lovers in this case is also light and dark, it's embracing you with every facet, with every aspect, and not trying to force yourself into a specific role or into a specific something. right? And then this gives you the empowerment and you're rising above it. It's, if you look at this card, there's the black and the white cat, like yin and yang, right? Yeah. Lovers, right? The union of it. But if you look at behind it, there's the cat which has black and white fur. So that's the complete merge, like union, the complete union of light and dark. Just by following your light or your curiosity. Basically, what it comes down to is the magician doesn't know what the magician does. The magician just does it. And somehow it aligns. And the magician doesn't know. The magician doesn't know its own magic. It's like, yeah, it just happens. Right? Yeah. And then, but that's the point of the magician, is just embracing this and not overthinking it. And there you go. Everything's aligned. Yeah. So we had this card as well, which is very interesting because it looks like blood vessels and a tree. Very natural magic somehow. Natural, again, going to nature. Let's see. Inspire. Oh. And trust. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's a simple message, isn't it? Beautiful image. I love this deck. I just love it. Yeah, so the point is, it's also a good example with music in this card would be if you try to always play cover versions of songs, right? Then you will never discover your own music. What's unique. Always cover versions are a good tool, I guess, to learn, but it's also very destructive if you want to find your own voice and your own what you are doing. That's the simplest way to say it. Don't play cover versions. Just play and get soaked into spontaneous developments on or with your instrument. Or, that's what that's the point of the magician. That's why the magician can do what the magician does. Because the magician just does it based on curiosity. And the magician doesn't follow a script or notes. The magician doesn't read notes. The magician just plays. It's different. And that's a secret. That's all about it. And you can do it the same. It's easy. It's easier, actually, than trying to play other people's songs. Because you will always want to sound like other people, you have something, you have a mold that you want to go to. Whereas when you play your own songs, you don't know what's coming. You don't know how it sounds like, but it is your own. And if you accept it and accept that your own limitations in skill, your own limitations in how you play, but also your own power, where if you embrace your own what you're good at, suddenly you come up with something amazing. And it is just you, and it's not someone else's. Is that helpful? I hope. Clear. May you see things as they are, and may you see the sublime in the everyday. Yeah, leaves you with something, when you discover this and you embrace it and you finally unlock it for yourself. Oh, I know. What's that? And then it gives you clarity. Clarity is, it's easy, isn't it? It's so easy. It's not complicated. Seeing things clearly, it gets complicated when we try to analyze a situation too much, when we try to mold a situation, when we try to steer a specific outcome. Then it gets complicated because then we try to do so. But when it's clear, when you see something for the truth of what it is, and you speak the truth into reality and you see it, then it gets clear and easy. And what comes afterwards is surprising in a good way. Yeah, nice. Okay, hope that is helpful. Let's pull something to wrap it all up. It's already wrapped the whole message, but yeah. Know you are loved. Okay, I find this very strange. Okay, I'm telling you this now, right? I just started to watch something on Netflix. What's it called? Bodies? It's a series on Netflix. It's called Bodies, I think. And Know You Are Loved is a big theme in there. Very well. Yeah. I don't know. But Know You Are Loved at this point, I feel a little bit like, ugh, Know You Are Loved. Feels a little bit like, just because of this association to this specific show there, it feels has a bit of a byproduct now, a bit of negative. And I think that's again something. In this message, in this reading, Know You Are Loved is a good message, okay? And if you have something, it's the same when you try to play someone else's song and you just don't get it right. You don't sound right, you don't get the pitch right, it's something is just off. That's because you have this in mind, something on top of it. Whereas if you would just take the message the way it is without thinking about something else as well, like, see things for what they are, not for what they are in your mental construct that is a little bit more complicated or much more complicated than the truth, well, then it gets easier. And therefore, me mentioning the series is just an example of this would be complicating it. It's like the notes, the outcome, the song that already exists complicates it because you want to reach a state of less complication. You want to, clear something. You want to create something from a clear point. And if you are creating something that already exists, it makes it complicated. Yeah, I think you get it. Yes, it's the way the natural development of this tree, and the blood vessels and everything, it's interconnected and it is just naturally developing into something. It just happens. Yeah. Okay, so let's see who this reading is for. Leo. Okay. Yeah, well. Yeah, additional info is in the letter box below and see you next time. Bye bye.